Right, okay, so we've given up on safe staffing. I think that's what you were saying, is that?
No, that's what you said.
Oh, sorry, right.
Not me, that's what you said.
I'm sure that was
So NHS improvement, lead the work on staff.
Oh, here
staffing.
we go. And if it's not, then it's CQC. When are you going to bash everybody's head together and work together?
We do absolutely
that's
work
true,
together.
actually, yeah,
we
you
do
just
absolutely,
started
we do
it,
work
yeah.
together.
Yeah.
So
Are we going to? So is there a chief nurse in NHSI?
yeah, there's an executive director of nursing
And
NHSI.
there's a chief nurse. So we've got two. Why have we got to pay two salaries for two chief nurses? Ridiculous.
Well, Ruth is the director of nursing for
Oh, here we
NHSI
go. This
board,
is clinging on to
and
the
I'm
jobs.
the CNO in NHS England.
But
But you'll have seen the stuff that came out a couple of weeks ago about NHSE and NHSI working more closely together.
That's true. Yeah.
And we're aligning.
Does that mean we're going to strip the boards out and save some proper money?
Well, we can't stop having two boards because we need to
That's
change
very
legislation.
convenient, isn't it? Yes.
We can't change legislation until after.
Yeah.
Brexit.
So you're working, I think, in common. It's called, isn't it? Now, where you can agree to spend money together.
No,
There's an
no,
accountable officer problem, isn't there? That's the money.
So we have to have two boards, and we
Yeah.
have to have two chief execs and two chairs. That's
Yeah.
by statute. We have to do that. But we are moving. So, for example, in the region, you'll know that in the regional teams, we will end up with a single regional director and a single team working across both NHS England and NHS Improvement.
Yeah.
But going back to your question about safe staffing, because on basis this is live or being recorded, and I don't want people to think I've just agreed with you.
Nobody does.
It is so NHS Improvement are working on staffing guidance, sort of resources for each of the different settings, which give people the ability to make local
We've
decisions.
done all this. Everybody's had a look at it. We goes back to Jo Revette's work, wasn't it, when she said the 1 to 8? No, it doesn't. You've got NICE who did it and their work got chucked out. How many times are you going to do an inquiry? Look, the answer is we don't have enough nurses. 1 to 8 isn't safe, and we've just given up on it.
Well, NHSI aren't talking about 1 to 8, and NICE didn't actually say that 1 to 8 was
And
essential.
neither did Jo Rivette, or whatever her name was, the lady that wrote the report. But somehow or other we got stuck with 1 to 8, and if it's less than that, it's a red flag. And we need. How are you supposed to get more nurses on a ward at 6 o'clock on a Sunday evening where there's a red flag? I mean, none of it was to anybody with half a brain. I think it was an insult to people's intelligence.
What would you do?
Well, I don't know. What would I do?
Yeah. Seriously, what would you do? Because actually, we've got gaps.
Right, okay. First of all, I would abandon this concept of safe staffing and saying, we're going to, this is safe and this isn't. I mean, I think in the
I agree with that.
in the circumstances, I mean, let me answer the question the other way around. I'm attracted to the California model where there's a legal target for the nurses and the acuity of patients and all the rest of it, and I think they do it in other places as well. So I think it should be mandated, right? So then the next bit for me to answer that question is, okay, how do we get from here to there? And I would be more reassured if I said, okay, we are going to mandate the nurses by law, and we're going to pass the law now, and we're going to give ourselves 4 years to get to it. I would be more reassured if we did that. Then, of course, we go like crazy to do the recruitment and all the rest of it. Because at the end of the day, however you do it, Jane, we can't do it unless we've got enough nurses.
No, I agree.
And we don't have enough nurses.
I completely agree with that.
We've not. So I would mandate it in law and give ourselves the life of a parliament, 4 years, 3, whatever we thought we could manage to do it, so that we were taking it seriously.
So it
Because
takes
at the
a minimum
moment,
of 3
sorry,
years.
just to finish answering the question, because at the moment we'll have another report from NHSI, then there'll be a consultation, then there'll be a blah blah blah, and then there'll be another election, and then it'll all get forgotten, and we'll be no further forward. I think we've got to bite the bullet, pass a law, and figure out how we work to deliver it.
So I think at the moment, we can pass. Well, we can't, but the possibility that somebody might decide to pass a law. We've done it in Wales, but the evidence is only there for very limited clinical environments in which to suggest what is a appropriate level. So the risk you have is that if you it's a bit like hitting the target and missing the point, comment that we were talking about much earlier. So I know, because I've got personal experiences of nurses that have been working in situations where there's been an agreed, not by law, but a mandated level of staff that they have to have on that ward or that service. And they have, and in order to hit that, they have thrown anything and everything at that and said, you're fine. And you're absolutely fine, but what you've got is 2 members of permanent staff and the rest are bank or agency, or not able to deliver the care that that individual service needs. So you run the risk of sort of you've got a tick in the box because you've got the right number, but whether that right number are skilled and appropriately trained to look after the particular needs of the patient is another matter. There is some evidence. Linda Aitken and other people have published this, and we presented at my summit back in March. There is some evidence around numbers in certain environments. The work that NHSI have been doing has been looking at gathering all the evidence where it exists, and where it doesn't exist, do a clinically developed sort of consensus about what is the best.
A proxy.
What's the proxy? What can they do? But loads of people that we talk to say that it needs to be a combination of what is the evidence, what are the individual needs of the patients, because they vary. So you can have 28 patients that can vary from one day to the next, from one shift to the next, and you can have the same number of staff on. You can say, well, you're mandated to do that, but it still doesn't mean that that's appropriate for those patients. So you need to have something that is the evidence and the sort of proxy level, plus a local decision based on skill set of individual nurses and the patients.
The flaw, I think, in that argument, and we'll see what people say, but the flaw
they'll hate it because they'll say we should mandate it.
Yeah,
because people don't have, they're not responsible for delivering it, and they don't understand the implications.
Well, I think we do understand the implications, and the reason I think there's a flaw in that argument is that we understand that there aren't enough nurses, and there isn't the capacity within the hospital to shift staff around.
But that's 2 different things.
Well, no. If your argument is you're going to match the staffing to the acuity of the patients broadly, that's it.
Yeah.
And the acuity suddenly changes. Well, that's fine, providing you've got a sufficient pool of nurses.
No, I completely agree with that.
With the flexibility to be able to say, okay, well, actually, we're going to switch you from Ward 5 to Ward 6, and then, okay, that leaves a gap, so how do we fill that gap? So it's a great idea, very seductive, to match the skills and talents of the nurses to the acuity and the needs of the patient. But unless you've got enough nurses, you can't do it. And what I'm saying is, my argument would be, we will never have enough nurses until we make ourselves have enough nurses. And that's why I say, let's have the legislation and implement it in however many years forward. So we've got a target to aim for, and we know we've got to hit that. Otherwise, we'll be in more trouble. So, I mean, I just think that everybody's dancing around their handbags on this, and we've just got to make real sure that we've got enough of the right nurses in the right place, and that goes back to training and all the things that we've been talking about. And of course, Brexit hasn't helped. I mean, was it the number of applications from Europe has dropped by 90%? I think, isn't it?
No, that's a different issue. I think you're talking about the numbers of people that came off the NMC register dropped by that amount in one go. The number of nurses that have applied from the EU to join is, I think, beginning to slightly go up again. The number of non-European.
And what's your feeling? Do you think they'll be able to stay?
Certainly, the people we've got now will be able to stay. We've got about 5% of the workforce is from EU, and about 10% of the nursing workforce is outside of the EU.